So we have a special speaker here this evening from Ohio. Congressman Tim Ryan was first elected to Congress in 2002. He is known as a relentless advocate for the middle class. And as I was doing my research, I saw that he is the author of a book called A Mindful Nation: How a Simple Practice Can Help Us Reduce Stress, Improve Performance, and Recapture the American Spirit. I feel like I need to read it. Showing my war wounds again today, that maybe it's time that we all sit back and be a little bit more mindful. Welcome to the podium, Congressman Tim Ryan.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. I will warn you, I'm from Ohio. I'm from Northeast Ohio. Thank you. I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. And so having me speak to you on a Sunday afternoon can quickly turn into a therapy session for me, because the Browns have not won a game in 2 years. But we do have a proud football tradition that's made its way to Iowa. Your coach, Coach Campbell, is from Massillon, Ohio, just outside of my district. The defensive coordinator for Iowa State, John Haycock, was my old football coach at Youngstown State University. And the offensive coordinator, who just left, Coach Manning, his uncle is a priest, and he was a teacher at my Catholic high school, okay? So it's like we're related here or something. I just want to make sure you know that we do win football games in Ohio, just keeping you honest there. It's great to be here. It is a powerful moment in our country. I think we all feel it. We all know it. We all know why it is. I think we all know what's at stake in the United States. Our values, our morals, the things that we believe in, not the top line agenda stuff, although that's really important, but the underlying beliefs that we have as a country are at stake. And when I got married about 5 years ago, my wife lived in one town with her 2 kids, and I lived in another town. And so when we got married, she sold her place and I sold my place, and we got some neutral territory. And so we got this house, and I got this new family, and so, you know, what's a guy do like me who is now married with 2 kids? You know, who's not been married, and now married, and now 2 kids. Slight change in lifestyle. And so first thing we do is we get the house, and then with 2 kids, what do you got to do? You got to go get a dog, right? So what happens when you go out to get a dog with 2 kids? You come back with 2 dogs, exactly right. So now I'm married with 2 kids and 2 dogs. And then 4 years ago, we had Brady. So now we got 3 kids and 2 dogs. And people joked, so you had to go out and get another dog. I said, absolutely not. So 3 kids and 2 dogs. So a while back, I noticed something happening in my house that I hadn't noticed in a while. Silence. The house was completely quiet. Everybody was upstairs in bed. Maybe even in the same bed, I'm not sure. But I'm downstairs. So what's a guy from Youngstown, Ohio do when he has complete silence in his house and everybody's sleeping? You grab the remote control, because I hadn't seen it in months. Normally it's Paw Patrol and Nickelodeon TV and all this stuff. So I start flipping through the channels. So what's a guy like me do as he's flipping through the channels? He finds some sports, right? So I find the sports channel, and it's a documentary on the old basketball coach from North Carolina State, Jimmy Valvano. Remember Jimmy V? So he's given a speech. And I'm like, this is great. You know, I'm half Italian. Jimmy V's Italian. He's a basketball coach. I love basketball. He starts giving this speech and he says, God must have loved ordinary people because he made so many of us. He said, but in every day, in so many different ways, ordinary people do extraordinary things. Ordinary people do extraordinary things. And if you want to talk about what it means to be a Democrat, if you want to talk about what we believe in, strip it all away. It's that we believe that government, collective action, helps ordinary people do extraordinary things. And when you hear what the president comes to Iowa and says, oh, our farmer's going to get the best deal ever. So he comes to Youngstown and he says, don't sell your house. We're going to get these steel mills back up and running. It's going to be unbelievable. It's going to be better than it ever was before. He goes down to coal country and he tells the coal miners, we're going to get these coal mines back up and running. He goes across the country and makes promises he doesn't even believe himself. And he expects us to believe him. And he's got this big show going on. But meanwhile, back in Washington, D.C., he is continuing the culture of corruption in Washington, D.C. If you look at this tax cut, the only thing they were able to agree on themselves is a $2.3 trillion, with a T, trillion-dollar tax cut. A lot of the money borrowed from China. 2.3 trillion. And it was supposed to create jobs, raise wages, increase investment, invest in communities that have been left behind. And instead, what happened? 83% of it went to the top 1%. Just after, since the recession, almost all of income growth went to the top 0.1% of the people in the country. So the people that got all the growth in the last 9 years got 83% of the tax cut because it was going to create jobs and raise wages and take care of working class people. And what did the companies do with it? What did the CEOs do with it? They got the money. They went and the corporation bought their own stock. And what happens when all the money goes into the stock? Prices go up. And wouldn't you know, coincidentally, then the CEO sold their stock and made $40 or $50 million off of it? That is a scam where I come from. That's a scam. And then a week later, we turn around and we're trying to talk about investing in the healthcare, investing in the education, investing in the roads and bridges, investing in the alternative energy sources, new technologies, broadband, all the things we need to do to be competitive. And what do they tell us? We don't have any money. I'm thinking, what are you talking about? You just gave $2.3 trillion away. And then you have the audacity to turn around and tell working class people who haven't had a raise in 30 years, who are losing their pensions, who carry college debt, you tell them we don't have any money to invest back into the country? This is what we're talking about, folks. This is what's at stake. I want my country back. You know what? Remember the country that had a middle class? I want that country back, Donald Trump and Republican Party. That's what I want. Give me my country back. We want the country back that told us that if you worked hard, you played by the rules, you'd be able to make a living. The fact that we have so many Americans that lay in bed at night and stare at the ceiling because they don't know if their kid can have health care in the wealthiest country ever. Let me just tell you, I am not going to apologize for being for Medicare for everybody or health care for everybody. I will not apologize for that. And none of us should. We shouldn't apologize to say that every kid who wants to go to an apprenticeship or a certification or a community college or college, 4 years, that we will collectively make that happen for you. You know why? Let's put this all in context real quick. We are in a brutal competition. I'll tell you, this is what I worry about more than anything, and you're seeing it with the tariffs here a little bit in Iowa. We are in a brutal economic competition right now. We hear about Russia every single day on TV, but with China. And I'm not here to scare you about China. I'm not here to put up a bogeyman. I'm here to tell you the truth. China has a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, a 30-year plan, a 50-year plan, and a 100-year plan. They have a plan, what they call whole of government. The military, the economy, the research, all moving in the same direction. Building out their economy, building out their country. They have bases in Africa now. They're locking down long-term raw material contracts to feed their industrial machine. They're building islands in the South China Sea. Told us they weren't going to militarize them. Now they got military bases on them. They have a goal by 2025 to be the top country in the top 10 industries across the board. Wind, solar, aerospace, artificial intelligence, all of the additive manufacturing. That's their goal, and they're all moving in that direction. They have a plan called One Belt, One Road, where they're building bases and ports and everything out into Asia. Now, they're coming to clean our clock. And our strategy has to be not give tax cuts to the top 1% and hope maybe it makes its way, into Iowa or over to Ohio where some working class people get a little bit of money. We have got to get the mentality in the United States that by competing with them, by beating them, by giving opportunity to our kids means we collectively have to reinvest back into the people of the United States and the families of the United States who have worked hard for 30 years and not seen the benefits of it. And we can do it if we come together. I'll tell you a quick story. My wife's father has worked in the steel industry. And Black Monday is a famous day in Youngstown, Ohio, where United States Sheet and Tube closed down. And we lost thousands and thousands of jobs, hundreds of businesses, all in one day. It's not like today where you say, okay, we're going to close this factory in 60 days. Back then it was you showed up and the gates were locked. And there was an article about this day, about Black Monday, that I sent to my family. And I'll never forget my mother-in-law's response. Because my father-in-law had worked there. And she said, I'll never forget that day. Bobby, my father-in-law, Bobby came home, lunch pail, dirty. We had just borrowed money to get a house from a bank, and we borrowed $4,000 from Bobby's parents for a down payment. And Bobby came home and said, I have no idea what we're going to be able to do. I have no idea what we're going to do. That, my friends, was 40 years ago. And that is still happening every single day in the United States of America to people who have done everything to keep their head above water. And I will tell you, if we can bail out the banks who have done everything wrong, we can help American families who have done everything right. And it means us coming together. It means us caring about each other. And I know we're not allowed, I'm a quarterback from Youngstown, Ohio, and I'm not allowed to talk like We got to love each other. I'm not saying, like I tell our kids, you got to love each other. Not always going to like each other, but you got to love each other. You got to care about each other. Have we ever seen a good team, a good church, a good union, any organization that performs at the highest level? There is a deep connection and affection for each other, a deep respect. And that's what we don't have right now. We've got to appreciate the people who work hard, play by the rules, and those people who take a shower when they get home from work, not just before they go to work. Those are the people we got to start looking out for. That's what the Democratic Party is all about. This is our job, our responsibility. And we can do it. We have to do it. And so many people are relying on us to do it. I'm going to tell you one last story. Periodically, I'll go to a council person, or I'll do a ride along with some cops in my district just to see the town. And so I went on a tour of Youngstown a few months back, and I told the council person, I said, take me to the toughest neighborhood. I want to see where it's the hardest. And he took me in this neighborhood, and we went in, and he says, you got to meet Mrs. Duke. So I go in, and we pull in the driveway, and here comes Mrs. Duke from behind the house. And she's got a spray. This is a neighborhood that's on tough times. She's got a spray bottle in her hand. So I'm talking to her, and I said, so what's going on? What are you doing? She says, I'm spraying for ants. Now, in the middle of dilapidation and blight, Mrs. Duke's house is here, and she's spraying for ants. And her son comes around from the back of the house, and he's got paint on his arm. And I say, hey, what are you doing? He said, I'm just painting the back door. She said, do you want to come in? I said, sure. So we go in the house. It's a hot day. There's no air conditioning. She brings out some water, and we sit there and we chit-chat about what's happened to her neighborhood in the last 30 years. Her husband worked for the sheriff's deputy. She had his pension, but the neighborhood was tough. And she couldn't even go outside at night anymore and have a glass of water or a drink on her porch because it was too dangerous. There's an opiate epidemic and people are dying around the neighborhood. And there's crime and there's gangs. And here's a woman who's trying to make it and take care of her house. And we got in the house that had a nice marble mantel and a nice fireplace. And it was impeccable. It was older, but it was impeccable. Hardwood and all the rest. And she said, I can't get out of here. I asked my son if he could find somebody to buy this home. And she said, you know how much they would pay me for this house? $4,000. This woman is trapped. She is trapped in America, in an iconic American city that 40 years ago had one of the highest per capita incomes in the country, making steel to build high rises all over the world. And now she did everything right, and she can't get out of her neighborhood. That is unacceptable. If you have a kid that needs mental health treatment or needs rehabilitation or a good education and you can't get it, that's us. Those are our families. Those are our people. And we've got to come together and make structural change. And that starts with taking back to Congress and telling Steve King he is no longer going to be a congressman in the United States Congress. And we're going to put J.D. Scholten in there. And we're going to rebuild the country, and we're going to take care of, I think, three things need to be our priority. I think we need to take care of people's economic security, their health security, and their retirement security. Bread and butter issues that will help us win the House of Representatives back. And we need your help. This is going to be a close race with JD. It's going to come down to potentially dozens or hundreds of votes. And we've lost too many. We lost a special election in Columbus, Ohio by 1%. It is time for us as Democrats to start winning. And it's time for us to start playing offense. I don't know how you feel. I'm tired of losing, and I'm tired of playing defense. It's time to start playing offense, and it's time for us to start winning again as Democrats. So there's this great story, and then I'm done, about Muhammad Ali. And he was walking down the street, I think in Kentucky, and someone came up to him and said, "Hey, champ, I saw you fight." And the champ says, "Oh, that's great." He says, "Yeah." He says, "I saw you got knocked down in the fight." And champ said, I don't think that was my fight." He said, No, I was there. You know, it was amazing. I was a little kid, and you got knocked down." He said, "It couldn't have been my fight." Ali says, "I've never been knocked down." He said, "I'm either up or I'm getting up." And I think the Democrats have never been knocked down. We're either up or we're getting up. We're getting up for that person who needs health care. We're going to get up for that person who needs a solid retirement. We're going to get up for those people who need education. The Democratic Party is going to play offense, and we are going to start winning again here in Iowa, in Ohio, and across the United States of America. Thank you for all the work that you do.
Thank you, Congressman. It has been a pleasure to have you here with some great stories and a lot of good information. So thank you so much for joining us. I just want to say when I was given the list of everybody who was going to speak today, I thought there is no way we are getting out of there. There's no way we're getting out of there, but what a great organization that the Story County Democrats planned, a great program. You did a great job, and we met our schedule. So I want to thank the entire group, everybody who worked on this, and for everything you did. I want to make sure each and every one of you comes back and gets to work, makes a phone call, makes a lot of phone calls, knocks on a lot of doors, makes another financial contribution. If you need a yard sign in your yard, especially if you live on a frequently a busy road, make sure you go down to headquarters and grab some yard signs. Make as much of this as simple as possible for us so that we can be doing the important stuff and talking to constituents. Thank you so much for the evening, and drive safely home.